It's Sunday morning. I have coffee. Let's talk about Catholic sacraments. Dun dun dun. Hey guys, it's John here. I am sitting here on a Sunday morning enjoying my cup of coffee. Love it. And I had a question that came in the other day asking me what my views were on the Catholic sacraments. And I have very specific views on the Catholic sacraments. Before I dive into the sacraments themselves, let's talk about the premise that God is love. The sacraments are highly overshadowed by fear, and because of that, you have to question, are they of God or are they of the mind of man? When I look at the sacraments themselves, I see something very almost insidious. I see Catholic recruitment is what I see. Let's dive into the first sacrament. The first sacrament is baptism. Now, historically, ritual baths were something that happened with Judaic sects. John the Baptist was baptizing because of his own adherence to ritual bathing of Judaic sects. So the concept of actually needing a baptism or any of those sorts of things is not about the teachings of Jeshua. It's about the teachings of the Judaic sects. And if you ever go to Qumran, you'll find that there's actually ritual bath chambers. They are very much about cleansing the body as part of their ritual. But that's just the historical aspect of baptism. Now let's talk about the recruitment element of baptism. Every parent in the world knows that their child's born in sin, right? We are all born in sin. Now I want you to ask yourself this question. If you're a parent, when you first held your child, did you literally look at that child and say, ooh, what a nasty sinner. What a wretched soul. Saved a wretch like me, right? That child did nothing to create a sin. And a sin itself is its own story. A sin is just something that is told to you by religion that you have to not do. So it's not a law of God, which is what people wanted to make it. It's not a law of God. It is literally a man-made construct. But let's go back into the original sin. The child did nothing. The child had no original sin. The sin that they are supposedly carrying is the death of Jeshua, the death of him. And that child had nothing to do with it. That child had nothing to do with it. So the original sin is not about the child. It's not about the sin. How can you overcome that original sin? By baptizing them into a religion. Does that sound like love, or does that sound like a recruitment tool? They are recruiting them before they can even think. So that's the first of the sacraments. The second one is the Eucharist, or as we say in the Catholic Church, the First Communion. It's such a pretty time to get all the family together and put on your nice clothes and watch that First Communion happen. But now you're telling these children that eating the body and blood of Christ is what you're supposed to do as a Catholic. Now, ritual sacrifice is very much steeped in old Judaic custom, old Judaic law, right? The concept of the body and blood of Christ comes back to the word Christ. The word Christ means anointed one or Messiah. Joshua said he was the Son of Man. He never said he was the Messiah. He never said he was the Messiah. And in my past life regression, I have a clear memory of him denying it. So he denied it to the Essenes. The concept of this First Communion, once again, historically, Judaic traditions, the sacrifice. But in reality, when you think about what it is, it's just to keep that child in line with the religion. The next one's the big one, confirmation. What does the word confirmation mean? It means you have to confirm you believe something. It means you have to say, I do believe this. And when do they do that? They do it right at the exact time that the Jewish people are doing bar and bat mitzvahs, the celebration of becoming a man or a woman, at the precise time when people start to use their brain and start to think cognitively and feel their independence. They're told, oh, no, 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 no. You can't be independent. You've got to be a Catholic. So you've got to confirm it. So it comes to the point where they're pushing into this confirmation to keep them in the faith. The next one, of course, is reconciliation, or as they say in the Catholic Church, the confessional. Dun, dun, dun. Confessional, where I can go to some man that's sitting in a room somewhere telling every bad thing I did and be forgiven for them. And that's a unique way of looking at that. But let's look at how you're told about the confessional. You do bad things in the world, there's only one place you can come to be absolved of those sins, the confessional. You've got to come back to the church for the confessional, or you're going to go to hell. So everything you're hearing so far, if God is love, has anything I've said so far matched love? Yeah. I'm scaring the parents to make their children with original sin become a Catholic. And First Communion is eating the body and blood of someone. That doesn't sound very loving to me. Then you have confirmation, where you're kind of forcing them to say at the time of life when they're becoming independent, saying, no, I've got to reconfirm. This is just literally training their mind to stay there, right? Then you say, well, you can do bad things, but there's only one place. You're actually telling them if they don't stay with the Catholic Church, they're going to burn in hell if they do bad things. And then comes marriage. Marriage is an interesting one because everyone thinks they have to get married, thinks they're supposed to be married. Marriage is a religious construct. You know, of course, the states and the government have now gotten involved because marriage licenses and all their taxes and everything go through about marriage. But marriage itself is a religious construct. There's nothing that says you have to be married except for religion, except for the church. You have to be married. Now let's think about the logic about why you have to be married. About the time that your hormones are really firing on all cylinders, they say to you, all right, if you have a predilection towards the opposite sex, then you need to get married and start making more babies, because that is the duty of a Catholic, is to create more Catholics. And how do they do that? Your babies have original sin. It's a never-ending cycle of recruitment. Now here's the even more insidious part of that. If you don't have the predilection for the opposite sex, then you are to become a priest or a nun because you've had the calling. You're being called to the church because you don't have the inclination towards the opposite sex. How has that worked out? More priests are being arrested. The church is hiding priests who are molesting children. It's a huge scandal in the Catholic Church. But why would they have that scandal in the first place? Well, they're telling people not to love in the way they naturally want to love. If God is love, love in any form is never wrong. So gay or straight or polyamory or any of those things, it's not wrong if it's love. Now, if it's fear-based power plays or lust out of control, that which is also fear, then it's something else. But if it's love, and they love someone, and their natural inclination is to love someone of the same sex, there's nothing wrong with love, if God is love. But God isn't love in the Catholic Church. God is fear. God is judgment. God is vengeance. And so it comes down to you having this expression of, do I believe in a loving God, or do I believe in a fearful God? And it really comes up to you. You have to make that very absolute choice. By the way, that whole becoming a priest or a nun thing, if you don't have the predilection toward the opposite sex, is called holy orders. You've got holy orders. You being ordered into the church because of your lack of expression towards the opposite sex. The other sacrament that's in here is the anointing of the sick. Now, I saved this for last. It's actually in the list of sacraments. It's actually right after confession. The anointing of the sick is a medieval Catholic sacrament. It's literally designed to go to someone who is on their deathbed and saying, I'm giving you the last rites in an attempt to get them to donate their wealth to the church. That's how the anointing of the sick actually began, is the church would go and say, if you give all your goods to the church, and you will save yourself from hell. They were actually getting people on their deathbed to buy their way out of hell by willing everything to the church when they died. The intention was to go to the people who were dying and who had material possession and literally getting them to donate it to the church so they could go to heaven. And so this whole idea of anointing the sick, now, don't get me wrong, going to help someone who is ill is wonderful. But the anointing of the sick is not about helping them. It's about helping them into heaven by taking their material possessions. Baptism, First Communion, confirmation, anointing of the sick, marriage, holy orders, all of them have a fear-based component in them. All of them are telling you to fear God in some form. All of them are telling that you are a wretched sinner. All of them are trying to accept your possessions in the material world. The Catholic sacraments are a recruitment tool, and they're a wealth-building tool for the church itself. God is within you. There is never anything. The Father and I are one. All that you need is within. It's all there. Everything is right. It's right within you. But you don't need these external things that are designed to keep you in a religion to find God, to find the source. Religion itself is a man-made construct trying to control God. And why? Because of what they get out of it. So the sacraments are really basically exactly how a cult would work. And, they get people in, they get them stuck in their ideology, and then next thing you know, they're buying sneakers and drinking Kool-Aid. And so it really is the sacraments are really just a terrible expression of a religion who's trying to control its congregations. And that, my friends, is my thought on the Catholic sacraments and what they really are. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.